All right, we're searching for prepper things that begin with the letter B.
Beer.
Like Bushnell binoculars. Where's my
Bacon.
bag? Bacon? Oh, man. I actually fell off the no bacon wagon last week.
That's a good thing.
Well, I hadn't been to Denny's in quite some time, and I was getting sick of oatmeal, so I went to Denny's, and I had the Grand Slam Slugger and 2 buttermilk pancakes, against the letter B, and bacon and egg, over easy eggs, so 2 egg yolks, which I'm not supposed to have, and some hash browns. But let's see.
My girlfriend jumped on the vegan bandwagon.
Well, I'm just doing what my cardiologist told me to, so it'll be a long time before I go and order bacon again, because it's been a couple of years.
Well, I mean, it's one of them things, for me, it's one of them things like, what's the point? You know, I'm going deer hunting every day, and now she's a vegan.
Well, so you can put together the salad part of it. So those are Bushnells. Here's the case that came in. It says Bushnell right on there. So, yeah, those are my binoculars.
Nice.
And speaking of binoculars, I'm going to do a screen share. I've talked about my desire to one day get night vision.
Oh, we're live.
What?
We're live. I just
Yes,
saw
sir.
that.
We are live.
Sorry, guys.
Let's see if I can actually bring up the damn page. 1 second.
I had a bunch of noise in the background from work. I didn't hear the Glock.
Oh, I can do that in a minute. And here we go. It's the Lock and Load Show on Gun Channel Broadcasting.
That's better. That's better.
Well, I was going to get my Benelli Supernova, but it's upstairs, and maybe I'll go get it before the show's over. So, because it begins with a B and Glock begins with
Hey, there you go.
Here it is. Okay, so I guess the reason most people don't get night vision is because it costs so much fucking money, right? Problem
Maybe
solved.
take out another mortgage just for getting night viz.
Actually, you don't. Here we go. Check out the screen share. $119.99. Yep, on Amazon.
Oh my goodness. Sorry, that was probably loud, but wow.
You can see this. Night Fox 100V widescreen digital night vision infrared binocular with zoom 3x20. So this doesn't have like an SD card or anything, and you can't use it as goggles, but it's real night vision, and it's modern. It's a British company. It's made in China, but for a British company, and it's only $119, and that's pretty damn cheap for night vision, which has been, I mean, somebody in the lobby the other day was saying they had 2 that they had to sell. They're like $4,000 or something, and it's like, this is a lot cheaper than $4,000, and it's real night vision. Okay, it's not a scope, but it's night vision, and that's one of those things that I always said, people don't buy it when the grid is up, because you don't really need night vision when the grid is up. But if the grid is down and you have to set a night watch around your perimeter, it could be handy to have 1 or 2 of these on your team, working with people to set guard. So this might be on my short holiday Hanukkah, under the Hanukkah bush this holiday for me. I don't know. We'll see. But it's beginning to look a lot like night vision. All right.
I wanted to apologize for that big burp. That was my girlfriend.
Your girlfriend?
God.
God.
Just be glad it wasn't a fart.
Okay. Now here's something I bet Squib's gonna like. Some new pictures from VMF 214 from World War III. World War II. Sorry, World War III hasn't happened yet. World War II.
I'm waiting on World War III.
Right. Well, here's World War II.
The Black Sheep Squadron.
Yes. There's
Pappy Bowington.
Greg Bowington, yeah.
Oh,
And this is B because Bowington's Bastards. Baa Black Sheep was the name of his book that they made into a TV series starring Robert
Yep.
Conrad. But they were also known as Bowington's Bastards, so this qualifies as B. Stuff that begins with the letter B.
I'll take that one.
The Corsair.
Hey, you know what else starts with B? The producer of the TV show, Belsario.
Okay.
You know, greats like Baa Black Sheep, Magnum PI, Airwolf, NCIS, Belsario.
I never saw Airwolf.
Here we go again.
Really, it's a show based on a Bell 222 Airwolf. It's probably one of the greatest helicopter shows ever.
Bell starts with B. Bell Helicopter.
Yep.
So here's the real squadron. It's a real squadron picture from World War II. I thought that was interesting. Here's Pappy with a victory flag and some baseball caps. Anaheim Angels? I don't know.
Here's some democracy, guys.
There he is in some kind of publicity shot in dress uniform. Here he is before a raid on Bougainville at the Kaili airdrome. That was what they raided. This was Bill Case with 8 kills, with the third highest scoring Black Sheep member. He is famous for cheating death on his last combat mission when, for reasons unexplained, he decided to lower his Corsair seat a notch. The only time he ever did so in battle. In battle, a Japanese Zero fighter bullet smashed into the cockpit, blooding his scalp. If he had been sitting an inch higher, the bullet would have killed him. Lived for another 52 years and passed away in 95. John Bolt was the only Marine to become an ace in World War II and the Korea campaign. In World War II, he flew with Black Sheep, shooting down 6 Japanese planes in the Solomons. 10 years later, he shot down an equal number of Soviet MiGs in Korea. He practiced law after active service and attended a squadron reunion in November 2000. It's got to be very few and fewer left as time goes by of our World War II vets. And here's after the war when he was welcomed back in a prisoner of war camp for quite some time. Part of the surrender agreement was all the prisoners were released. So I'm sure that made his day. And here they are during World War II with some time off. Lieutenant Don Fisher. They are in a San Francisco bar in 1945. Some squadron members. Frank Walton, the intel officer. All right. I've got there's something else on here, some video. I don't know if I can make it play. Let's see. I probably can't. Yes, I can. There's some Marine footage from World War II that was released recently about, try and make this. You guys won't be able to hear the audio, but there is audio. This is the footage of the Marines landing on some unnamed island. Just says capturing an island. And this is like naval combat.
That's footage of kamikazes coming in on carriers.
Right. There's only a little bit of this. They'll have the Marines in a minute. So I'll just let this play through. This is a public domain video that was released, I think, by DVids, but this is from the Daily Mail website. But the video is public domain. Some battleship. There's the island that they're
B is for
bombarding.
battleship.
B is for battleship. Damn right. Some landing craft. See, I don't know. Yeah, I can't tell what island they're landing on. It doesn't say anywhere. But there's some footage of them taking the storm in the beach, and I hadn't seen this particular footage before.
Yeah, that's an Amtrak there. That's a Sherman tank there. That's an LCU right there.
Are those M1s or Springfields?
They probably got the Grands by now. But I can't tell. With my phone, I can't tell.
Oh, you're still on your phone. Okay. So, 105s.
Yeah, I was thinking there were 105s.
Some kind of patch on the back of their jackets.
Yeah, those are Garands.
B for bazooka.
Yeah.
I don't think they let us preppers have bazookas.
It's not really the bazooka. It's each round you got to pay a damn tax stamp on.
For each round? Oh man, that's a
Yeah.
lot of paperwork.
Yeah, when you've got something like that, you've got to, like if you had a tank, you can get shells for the tank, but you've got to pay a $200 tax stamp on every shell that you fire or something.
All right. Let's see. Get back to the.
Or you
Not
could
pretty.
use paint like they did in Heroes and paint beautiful pictures.
Oh, and Kelly's Heroes. Make scary pictures with paint. That was a double entendre. All right, so I need to punch up Squib's beans picture because I personally like Bush's grilling beans because I think they must put in extra sugar in them or something to make it sweet. But let me find Squib's. Here they are. Beans 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. Go. Screen share this. Push the button. Okay, so what store is this one at?
That's Walmart.
That's Walmart. Bush's. Yeah, you got the grilling beans on the left there. Those are what I like. Obviously, you get better prices for like a case of beans at Costco most of the time, but
You don't get the variety.
Yeah, you don't get necessarily the ones you like or variety of choices. I also like if I'm making like tacos, then I like the Amy's refried Mexican beans. They have a low salt or regular. They're pretty good too, but usually I like the grilling beans there. Let's see the next one. Where's this at?
That's Myers. That's a chain that's in the Midwest. It's better than Walmart. 24 hours, complete department stores, like Walmart, but better. So.
Is it more expensive? About the same?
So they have better sales. Walmart sometimes has better prices when it's a non-sale item, but when they have sales, Myers blows their sales away. Plus, Myers has got a really good produce department, and Walmart doesn't.
Yeah, fresh produce is why I go to Safeway. Next picture. Beans. Where's this at?
Same thing. That's the same aisle in the same store. You see, they got a sale on pork and beans.
Vandy Camps. Yeah, I got a case of Vandy Camps at Costco. I don't remember how much they cost, but I really like the grilling beans the best. Bush's grilling beans.
Yep, I had navy beans today.
How come they don't make marine beans?
Well, because sometimes when we're on ship, the Navy's one that serves us the chow. Actually, they have a combination Navy and Marine personnel working in the galley on the ship if there's Marines on board. But we want to get some good Navy beans going a sub.
Why is that?
I don't know. Food's just better on a sub. Or maybe it's because it's such a crappy assignment. They got to have something going for them.
Yeah. Okay, the pig boss. All right.
As far as for me, personally, as far as for me, real quick, I want to jump in. I use dry beans. They last longer, of course. You can throw them in the freezer, and they'll last forever. But as far as prepackaged, I came across this brand Isadora refried beans, and I actually like these. These are actually pretty good. They got a good flavor, a little bit of hint of seasoning. Yeah, it's like, just kind of see. This is like a 1 minute, like a
in the microwave,
pre-cooked rice bags. Yeah.
I like Uncle Ben's. I use a lot of Uncle Ben's. Those rice bags, those little rice bags from my Uncle Ben's. Those are convenient to toss in the microwave for 90 seconds, and they're done.
I don't know what kind of rice we had as like a red beans and rice in the same style pouch. It was just horrible. Yeah, I actually had to add seasoning to it just to give it a good flavor because it was not that great.
Yeah, I had some Uncle Ben's jasmine rice and used it as kind of a bed when I made a couple days ago teriyaki beef. It was like teriyaki and Thai spicy chili kind of sauteed beef and throw it on the bed of rice, and it was really good. I might have it later after the show. So let's power through this. Another thing that begins with B. Booze. So this is my latest favorite single malt Irish whiskey. Sexton single malt Irish whiskey, and I haven't found too many single malts. I mean, I have the Tullamore Dew, but that's not single malt. This is my Tullamore Dew, but that's not single malt. And this has got a little picture of, I mean, if you still want to hold it up, but the skeleton with a top head and a skeleton on the top of the cork and on the bottle itself. So I'm gonna, if I find my reading glasses, I'll read you the description on the side. Let's see here. They have the print is so flippin' small. Is it in the book? Where'd the book go? Oh, here it is. Glasses are in the book. Let's see.
In case I drop out again, my internet's starting to act up.
Yeah, that's what happened last week.
Always. Yeah, and it did yesterday too. So fair warning. If I drop out for any reason, that's 99.9% why.
Okay. It's not because you're mad at me or something. Okay, that's good. I try to read.
Have a fire.
Or your place is burning down. Your tiny house burned down, so so we'll know either your place burned down or the internet sucks.
My place ain't gonna burn down. I told my girlfriend this, that the only way it would is if it was arson and somebody just purely soaked the house in gasoline. No, I'm a firefighter. So
there's no combustible materials anywhere around your house?
There is, but I've my house is so fire-wise that it would take literally somebody would have to come in and set the house on fire for it to burn.
Well, the arson. I mean, not the arson. The embers in Malibu. They're really big. They're like the size of a basketball.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people don't realize those firebrands on a 25-mile-an-hour wind here in Oklahoma can start spot fires up to a half-mile away. So, I mean, that's in Oklahoma, and you guys have a lot more wind.
In California, yeah.
Yeah.
My folks were evacuated. This is how their day went. First, there was the mass shooting in the morning at borderline. It was like a mile and a half or so from their house, and then the fires came in the middle of the day, and they got a mandatory evacuation. So they took their dog and packed up their car and went to a friend's house like 5 miles away. And then at midnight, her house got evacuated, mandatory evacuation. So they drove back to their house, which took them quite a while on surface streets because the 101 was closed. PCH was a parking lot as good as closed. And they made it back home like 2 a.m. or something. But their house is still standing. So I just kept in touch with them, just to make sure they're okay. But yeah, fires are a real thing. A
lot of people underestimate them. That's why. I mean, this is a totally different subject and nowhere near. But I just can't understand why so many people have died in this last fire in this campfire.
Well, when the wind moves at 55 miles an hour, and it's like a flamethrower. It's really, it's not like it's like a flamethrower. You can't outrun the fire. You can't outrun it. And why they died is because the two roads into and out of town they had brush right up to the edge of the road, and they died in their cars trying to get out.
Yeah. And my thing is these guys. I mean, if I get called out to a fire and it's anywhere close to this town, it's where I live, I'll tell my girlfriend, get ready to bail out. I'll call my sisters, my parents, tell them all, get ready to get out of town. They're like, why? It's a small fire. I'm like, because wind shift, and on a 15-mile-an-hour windy day, with a 1 hour burn fuel of about 6%, you can get up to a 400 foot per minute flame spread rate. So it's
basically PG&E, the utility in California, they lost a lawsuit on the last fire like a year ago, and they have to pay up, and they're going to have to pay up on this. And Jerry Brown's got the governor of California. His staff is all full of former PG&E employees, and they basically didn't have to do any roadside fire, brush clearance. So that's why everybody died, is because nobody was clearing any brush around the town. So the road was like just a tunnel of dead brush. So it's like a death trap that time. Paradise. Anyway, I'm going to read this. I've been trying to read this Sexton whiskey bottle here. Let's see. Follow that scent into the crypt. You might find a locked door, faintly glowing at its edges. Through that door, find the rows of beckoning European oak. Once the sacramental casks of fine sherry, now brimming with aqua vitae. You see, to be a sexton is a spiritual trade. They're grave diggers, basically, and whiskey is their favorite spirit. So, basically, it says up in the cold gray northern reaches of County Antrim, the sextons tend to the spirits digging the fresh graves of the Riverbush graveyard and planting stone crosses in the south, Who reads whiskey bottles? Okay, me. Let's see. Digging the fresh graves of the river bush graveyard. Planting stone crosses in the soft mowed grass. Show up just before dawn when the dew is glistening on the headstones, and you'll catch the cool morning breeze carrying the fresh scent of unmistakable oak from a breathing cask. So basically, these grave diggers started a whiskey company, and it's pretty good. So I'll go with that. And booze begins with a B. So there it is.
Heck yeah.
Excellent.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Yeah, so booze is one of my favorite preps.
Well,
before the
Fireball doesn't necessarily start with a B, but there's a B in it.
Okay. Well,
Fireball is my favorite one, by the way.
bullets. So this is a Spear Gold Dot hollow point, 45 ACP. So a Squib was saying he doesn't have any problems with his 1911 with his shooting hollow points. Some people, I guess, have. Usually I shoot FMJ out of a 45, but I do have some of these. I picked them up just because they didn't have much of a selection last time I was at the local gun shop. And because after the last hurricane, the ships were still like, the shipping was still a mess, and the stuff that he ordered was still like on the dock in Honolulu somewhere. So sees that they probably have some more 45 ACP in now, but they had a very limited choice last time I was there. But Spear Gold Dots are pretty good, so I got a case of them.
Yeah, I like Gold Dots for self-defense. I would love to one day set up some targets, maybe like something like with wood, with maybe water jugs behind it, or water balloons, or something like that. And
ballistic gel.
Well, ballistic gel, I've heard, is a little pricey.
Well, you can make it yourself. I mean,
I guess, but I was just thinking something where I can do a penetration test against the different loads that you can buy, and maybe some that I could make. But
Shooting the Bull, there's a YouTube channel called Shooting the Bull, and he has like tons of ballistic tests on his channel. So that's usually what I use. I just go to his.
That's his test, so it could be kind of, the data could be skewed.
Well, he shows it. I mean, he shows the test, but hey, I'd research. It shouldn't be that hard to get the powder to make ballistic gel, and you can make it at home.
You can always use
I could look that up.
I used a 9.5 pound ham, and I shot it with my AR at 100 yards, and it blew the whole thing apart.
Yeah, that was a.
I'm thinking I could get some 1/4-inch plywood and put milk jugs full of water behind them, or something like that, and then maybe another piece of plywood, different thickness.
Or you could buy one of Dusty's hogs off of. You could buy one of Dusty's hogs off of them and use them as for a ballistic test.
If he wanted to slaughter one and he said, "Yeah, I need to put it down," then I would test it against the hog's skull at point blank range. Yeah.
Hey, Squib, come down to Oklahoma. We can hunt all the pig you want, and no limit, no tags, no license, nothing.
I'm all for that. Now that I got my first deer, my wife's all about me going out and doing some more hunting. So I guess I need to bring home the bacon, right?
The price was right on the deer meat. Is what your wife was.
Oh no! What it costs to go deer hunting to get one deer, and even the cost of processing the meat is more than what it would cost for me to buy the equivalent weight in beef.
It tasted good. Then it was the taste.
I don't know. I'm picking it up from the processor tomorrow.
Oh.
I love deer meat.
Yeah, I had it once and it was very good.
She told me, she said, "When are you going to get me a deer?" And I've been trying to get out for a couple of years, and I finally got out this year, and I got one, and She said, "Bring me back its head." So I'm actually going to have a deer head hanging on the wall. That was the last thing that I would have ever thought I would ever do. Is
Well, it's the
have
last
some
thing you would expect.
taxidermy.
It's the last thing you would expect to see on a honey-do list.
Yeah, it's kind of like I'm out there freezing my ass off. Going, she better appreciate this.
Oh my goodness. I know, right? You're out there. A lot of people don't like, my girlfriend doesn't understand like how much we suffer just to go deer hunting. I mean, I had to call it early this morning because my toes were hurting so bad from being so cold.
I was layered up, and when we were walking out there, it wasn't a problem. And when we went the track the first year I shot that day, we were out there for 90 minutes trying to follow the blood trail, and I warmed up. But otherwise, sitting in that blind, even with layers, even with a heater in there, you're just sitting still. You get cold pretty quick.
Oh, you're not hunting, you're just vacationing.
Waiting, you wait. That's why I was telling you in the pre-chat. You know, you were saying, no, I'm not calling it hunting. That's why I said, yeah, let's call it waiting.
Yeah. No, I don't even, well, hunting implies that you're going to get something. I don't. I just go out there and like I said, those two bucks yesterday they were close enough within range. They were definitely in a kill shot in a kill zone, but they were like behind me. So and I was sitting on the ground, no blind, nothing. So I couldn't just kind of turn around and shoot them. And when they finally did come back, and I was in the right area, they were hiding in brush, so I couldn't kind of send a bolt to them.
All right, let's see what's next on our list of bees.
Bandages. Got an Israeli bandage handy?
I have one in the other room. I could go get one.
Did I tell you that I finally made up an IFAC?
You finally made one up?
Yeah, I made one up a couple months ago, and I've been keeping it in my range bag, but I brought it with me. When I went hunting, I said, maybe I should bring this just in case. And it did have a bandage. It had a triangular bandage and the Israeli bandage in there.
Yeah, I guess my first aid bag has so much stuff in it, it's like overkill. But it keeps, every time I see something I like, oh, that'd be good for my first aid bag and medical bag, and it just keeps starting to get out of control. Stuff with things that but if I just throw that in the back of the Blazer, then I'm pretty much good to go for any first aid. Get to the hospital before you get to the hospital requirement, I think. Let's see.
Hey, Hawaii, if you need to run up and get something, I can take over for a second. I got a couple of things that are.
Go ahead. I'll just take a break. I don't need to get. Everybody knows what an Israeli bandage looks like, right? I mean,
yeah.
There's one thing I wanted to show you guys. Before you take over for the Oklahoma Prepper segment. Let me get it. Yeah, it was that that flashlight that I emailed out to some people from, I think I saw it on Canadian Preppers video. Let's see, where's my wish list? On Amazon. Dusty sent me like a flashlight, but he didn't say how many lumens it was. So here's the one that is like, what CP said in is that like by the end of the 2019, they will probably have handheld 1 million lumen flashlights, which is insane. 1 million lumens in a handheld flashlight. But here's the one that you can get now. That's because Dusty never said how many. He just sent me like a picture of his flashlight. But so I said, well, I mean, how am I supposed to compare it? How many lumens is it? And he didn't know. And So I'm still interested if he ever found out, but it's this one, the MS-12, Emulant 12 Cree. I mean, just 53,000 lumens is just insane. Amount. It comes with its own fan to cool it down. I mean, a flashlight needs its own cooling fan. But 53,000 lumens is just an insane amount of like 12 Cree LEDs in one light. But so this is like, but for $600 for a flashlight is a lot of money. But it's there's another way to look at it. It's like half the price of a new iPhone. So, and it's probably a lot more useful. I'll keep my Samsung Galaxy 3, and this is on my wish list. But honestly, the night vision is probably more important to me because I don't. So I'm more likely to get the night vision, but I don't know.
Any flashlight to me is more useful than a phone. I'm just a flashlight nerd. I love flashlights.
Yeah, well, this one is just so powerful. It's ridiculous. 53,000 lumens. I mean, so, but it will be interesting if you wait till next year, if there's no apocalypse in between now and next year. If you feel like you can wait there.
It's not that far away.
The apocalypse or 2019?
2019. It's not that far away.
Right. The end of 2019 is a little ways away. And basically
all you said was next year. You didn't say when. All you have to do is get it over the line, and it's a touchdown.
Well, it takes while they have to build more powerful LEDs to pull together to get to 1 million lumens. That'll be like, I don't know how they're going to do that, but it's going to require new technology and then new manufacturing, and then China will have to steal the plans and then make them for cheap, and then they'll be available on Amazon like by the end of next year. So,
I'm sure you give you a million lumens. I mean, probably already on aircraft. Just real expensive for landing lights and navigation lights.
Yeah, well, handheld and mounted on an aircraft is two different things.
Oh yeah. But I'm pretty sure those are already 1 million plus. So, it'll shrink. It does.
Yeah, but so this one you can get on Amazon any old time you want now. Just if you want one for Christmas, and you got $600 burning a hole in your pocket, and you don't want to buy bullion or Bitcoin or bullets or bandages or booze or whatever else we started with, or an iPhone. Okay, or a DVD of the TV show Blah Blah Black Sheep. I was going to read this one, the law number 28. I read it to Squib, but we talked about it before in the pre-chat before the show started. So I think a week or two ago, I talked about the book 48 Laws of Power. And so without referring into anything in general with regard to politics, basically, or anything in general, this is just a law number 28 from the book 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. It's enter action with boldness. So B would be for boldness in this one. And let's see, it says judgment. If you are unsure of a course of action, do not attempt it. Your doubts and hesitations will infect your execution. Now I'm going to actually get my reading glasses. 1 second. Because I'm reading. Timidity is dangerous. Better to enter with boldness. Any mistakes you commit through audacity are easily corrected with more audacity. Everyone admires the bold. No one honors the timid. Let's see. Boldness and hesitation elicit very different psychological responses in their targets. Hesitation puts obstacles in your path, boldness eliminates them. Once you understand this, you will find it essential to overcome your natural timidity and practice the art of audacity. Following are among the most pronounced psychological effects of boldness and timidity. The bolder the lie, the better. Lions circle the hesitant prey. Boldness strikes fear. Fear creates authority. The bold move makes you seem larger and more powerful than you are. If it comes suddenly with the stealth and swiftness of a snake, it inspires that much more than fear. It inspires that much more fear. By intimidating with a bold move, you establish a precedent. Every subsequent encounter, people will be on the defensive in terror of your next strike. Let's see. Going halfway with half a heart digs the deeper grave. Hesitation creates gaps. Boldness obliterates them. Audacity separates you from the herd. And the book has a lot of different historical examples that are very interesting that I'm not going to read. But so we talked about some stuff in the last after chat that I'm not going to go into. But that's what I was kind of basing it on. Let me read this last part. Boldness, if boldness is not natural, neither is timidity. It is an acquired habit picked up out of a desire to avoid conflict. If timidity has taken hold of you, then root it out. Your fears of the consequences of a bold action are way out of proportion to reality. And in fact, the consequences of timidity are worse. Your value is lower when you create a self-fulfilling cycle of doubt and disaster. Remember, the problems created by an audacious move can be disguised or even remedied by more and greater audacity. So anyway, that's an example from the book, Interaction with Boldness. And since boldness begins with a B, I'm going to call that a prepping item. Be bold. Brave. Okay. Oklahoma, this is your segment.
All right, guys. I appreciate it. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I got to put me up. All right. So, sorry, guys. I got to look at my ugly mug. But a couple of additional items for the bees. I'm dropping everything. I don't know if any of y'all know, but I am a hunter, and I specifically am an archery hunter. And more specifically, I am a crossbow hunter. Only because I got my crossbows at like one heck of a deal. 2 crossbows, a Barnett Game Crusher and a Barnett Jackal for $150. The Jackal is 200 retails for $200 in Walmart. From the site, it retails for $300, and the Game Crusher retails for $599 or $589. I don't know. Anyways, I got them both for $600 or for $150. So I started to go with that, and so the first thing I'm going to talk to you guys about real quick is bolts. There's kind of is it bolts or is it arrows? I call them bolts. Officially, under 16 inches, they are bolts. Over 16, they're arrows. But either way, I'm using these Mossy Oak 325 grain bolts from Walmart. These are not cheap. These are about $5 just for this bolt alone. That's $5. However, I am using these broadheads on my Mossy Oak bolts. I'm going to try not to slice my finger open.
B for broadhead.
Huh?
B for broadhead.
B for broadhead. I'm going to try not to slice my finger open, but as soon as when the broadhead impacts the animal, it's going to pull these little tines down, and these things are razor sharp. I can't remember what brand these are. You can get anything from these mechanical to fixed blades like these.
Did you say they were on sale at Walmart or something when you got them, or someplace else?
Actually, the broadheads or the bolts?
I remember you telling me a story, and I forget which one. I think it was the bolts.
It was the bolts, but it turned out that somebody had stole I guess you could say they stole them. They took the sticker off of the Mossy Oak arrows, the regular bow arrows and stuck them on these uh, these crossbow bolts, and I didn't know that I was stealing them, and I felt bad, and I actually went and talked to the manager. He was like, "Don't worry about it. It happens all the time." But I even offered to pay the difference. I said, "I'll pay the difference, whatever." But somebody had took the original price tag, or one of the closeout sale price tags on one of these things. And these things are normally about $5.78 a piece, and I got them for what, $2 and some change. So wasn't bad, but whatever.
Bank error
These
in your
specific
favor.
broadheads, yeah, and like I said, I talked to the manager. He was like, "It happens. Don't worry about it." But anyways, these broadheads, I bought a pack of six, a pack of three. I actually bought these off of my cousin who just sold her crossbow, and I bought these three for $30, and this pack retails for $50. They were unopened, so I bought these three broadheads for $30, and they retail for 50. Um, Now, on a kind of a cheaper or lower end, I'm using these Pandros archery crossbow bolts. These are 22-inch bolts with a 3-inch fletching and, of course, the half moon knock. You see right in there. I bought these for a 12 pack for $24 on Amazon. These are straight up cheap, absolutely cheap. And just to show you how cheap they are, look at all those scuff marks on that carbon fiber. I actually have this bolt specifically set aside because I will not shoot a bolt that has been scuffed up like that, because it will break your bowstring, and it could hurt you. As far as these broadheads right here, these are knockoffs of a G5 Montec from Walmart, which are $45 for a pack of three. I bought these on Amazon for a 6-pack for $20. These are exactly like these. These are exactly the same. I'm pretty sure there's a couple of different features that the G5 offers, or whatever, but these are like absolutely the same. And if you're going to go with the broadheads and do the archery thing, you're going to need a broadhead wrench. And what this does is basically it's got a sharpener on one end right here, just a carbide sharpener, and in the middle you can see right here it has this kind of wagon wheel looking thing, and that's for the broadhead to be able to fit in there, and you can tighten it or loosen it any much. Oh, with those stuff, but as much as you want. Yeah, it happens.
I'm glad you didn't
usually,
just put your face down on the broadhead by
I know.
mistake when you went to pick it up.
Hey, at least it would have hit something finally. But yeah, it's just a broadhead wrench with a sharpener, a little carbide sharpener on there, and it just works just as a regular knife sharpener. So those are my two Bs that I can think of. Well, I got another one really. I call this a Bloodlight. It's a Lofttech. Um, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it is a black light, LED black light. It's a lot brighter than it looks.
Also, it's for following blood trails.
Yes, I use it to track blood trails, and it really lights up anything that needs to be lit up. I mean, this is a black light, just an LED flashlight version of a black light. So I use it for my blood trails. If I will ever shoot one, I'll be able to track it at night, or a little closer to sundown. But yeah, those are just a couple of things that I have as far as for my prepping, and like I said earlier, that I don't remember if I said it on camera or not, but these are how I eat. This is my main source of food. I have to hunt my food. I spent so much. I'm not gonna say I spent so much money on on hunting gear. I spent about $500 in hunting gear alone. Um, and a lot of people, one person actually told me, he said, uh, why didn't you spend $500 in groceries? I said, you know what? That's a good point. I got a better one. $500 in groceries will not last you a full year. $500 in hunting gear
Unless
will
you
get
just
me
bought
meat for
like
several
50,
years.
unless you bought like 50 bags of 50-pound, 50, like a ton of 50-pound bags of rice, you might be able to
Right.
live off of it for a year. You know?
Yeah.
And
And
you
you
won't be
still
sick
need
of
something
rice.
else.
At least
Yeah.
some, at least some soy sauce or
Yeah. Ketchup, anything. Come on.
ketchup
But
on rice. Are you crazy?
I disagree.
that's not me.
I disagree with
That's
this.
the Irish girl talking.
Okay, Dusty, what's your
I
plan?
disagree. I could buy an awful lot of beef for what I spend on deer hunting.
What was that? I didn't hear you.
I said I could buy an awful lot of beef for the money that I spend on deer hunting. Or
Right, he was
just
talking $500 though.
I only spent 500 in hunting gear, but when I priced it out, um, if I got 6 deer, I have 6 deer tags, and if I got 6 deer, just alone in deer meat, it would cost me about 50 cents a pound, uh, or about $1 a pound for. I can harvest about 100 pounds of meat off of a deer, and it at 6 deer, it's about 600 pounds. Plus, we have wild pigs here, and there's no season. So worst comes to worst, these are actually my pig. These are the broadheads and arrows I use for the pigs. So I do plan on getting some pigs to kind of break the monotony of eating nothing but deer meat for a year.
Broadhead
So
bacon hunters.
broadhead bacon hunters right here.
Letter B.
Right.
Letter
Letter
B.
B. So yeah, I mean, the worst case scenario, I'll only get pig this year. Oh well. Uh, I'll get 1 or 2 deer. That's still about 100 pounds of meat each. Pigs, depending on what size they are, anything from 40 pounds of meat to 300 pounds of meat, depending on how big of a pig I get. Um, but $500 for pretty much a year's supply of meat is a pretty good deal in my book. Of course, we're still going to buy, this, maybe some chicken. She's going vegan, so I don't know. I don't know what her deal is, but you know, I can live on deer meat and pig meat for a year, and I can be absolutely satisfied with it. So $500 in hunting gear is well worth uh, eating deer meat for a year. These broadheads specifically on the packaging says they are good for no more than 3 successful deployments. So if I shoot these at 3 times and they work, I have ideal conditions. Either they stay in there or they pass through and hit dirt. These are good for 3 shots. You know, if I pass through and hit, a stump, maybe I'll have to sharpen it a lot more. Maybe even take it out. These are pretty much, if they're not pass through, they're one-time use. These, as far as the broadheads, I'm not sure what kind of steel that they use to make them. If it's the same steel as the G5 Montex, or if it's some cheaper steel, which I anticipate it will be. I mean, it sharpens up pretty good, but maybe 1 or 2 hits on a pig with this. If I get a pass-through shot, either way, these $2 bolts are one and done. Just from targeting, you saw the scuff marks just from hitting the bag. So one and done on these bolts, and maybe 2 or 3 times on these broadheads on ideal conditions. So
how many feet per second does the bolt leave your crossbow at?
This bolt leaves my Barnett Game Crusher at 315 foot per second. With my Jackal, it's 315 foot per second. Even with the Jackal with the 315 foot per second, you will still get a clean pass through shot on deer. And I have seen it. There's not very many YouTube videos of it, but there are a couple of YouTube videos of somebody shooting a pig with a crossbow with a Barnett Jackal and doing a clean pass through shot. So, ideally, it works out. But yeah, 350 foot per second is the one I use. My game crusher. It's one I take out with me every day.
Those are moderate ranges. HVS. I have one that shoots 400 feet per second, and it's every deer I've shot with it is dead.
Well, that's good. I wouldn't want you to eat a live deer.
Well, there you go.
Well, the one deer that I shot, that I did shoot with this broadhead, lived only because the grass deflected it, and missed. But he's still around. He's still right up the road from my house.
So I know that Dusty bought some pigs for his farm. How much did those run, and how many? I mean, can you tell me about any of that, or?
Okay, you're saying what did I sell them for? Maybe?
No, I mean when you bought them, how much did they cost? What did they run? I don't know. What did you sell? I thought you just bought some to have around as just like emergency food or something.
I bought some feeder pigs, and I've been feeding them. And of course, if you feed them, they grow up. And the last batch I sold probably averaged about 250 for a fat hog.
How much did you pay for them? I mean, when you bought them?
I bought them as feeder pigs. I paid $20 for them.
Oh, okay. So
real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt. You sold them for 250?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't get that part because recently another YouTuber that I follow, Keeping It Dutch, he got back 300 pounds of meat from the processor, which was a lot of meat on one pig.
Yeah, especially since they butchered about 66%. That pig must have weighed over 400 pounds when it went to market.
And I think he paid $190. What do you say? $193? $190 maybe for getting that pig processed. So that's less than $1 a pound for the meat. That's actually, it's less than $1 a pound for the meat. So I mean, it's really worth it.
Well, and it's not that. It's really not the cost of the animal for me. It's that I know what that animal has ate since it was born. And I know how commercial hog farmers raise animals, and I know what they pump into them. I know my animals have no drugs in them, and they are safe to eat.
Right, and that's another thing. I guess as far as me hunting wild pig or deer, the only thing that they eat around here is roots and maybe some grass, wheat, stuff like that. Pretty much they're mostly vegetarian, but they will eat meat. I mean that's a given, but a majority of their available food source is any grass or anything like that. So they will root around and get some bugs and stuff like that. But that goes. It depends on what as far as wild animals like that. Depends on who around your property or that property, or even around that property has what pesticides, stuff like that they put down on their property to
in Hawaii
weed killers.
In Hawaii the pigs eat fern.
A deer and a wild hog is smart enough to avoid those, so
right.
don't get hung up on that either.
Yeah, and my girlfriend was like, well, it's not healthy for you. You don't know what kind of stuff they put in those. We were buying some stuff the other day, and she's like, you don't know what kind of stuff they put into that meat. I said, that's why I'm hunting, because I know they eat my corn and they eat grass, stuff like that. So I guess you could say that wild pig and wild, deer is organic meat, for the lack of better words.
Dusty, turn down your music there, Dusty.
Well, my phone is possessed.
Your phone is possessed? Okay.
Not to start.
It's not that it's too loud, it's that it's country.
Yeah.
No.
That's the only type of music there, Squib.
Well, I won't get into like a music contest. I'm sure everybody has different tastes in their favorite music. But all right. Was there anything else, Oklahoma, that you wanted to cover besides your broadheads and your crossbows and bacon hunting?
There's a bunch of stuff I could, but I don't want to be a mic hog tonight.
I don't care. It gives my brain a rest. I don't have to think of stuff to say.
Well, I mean, as far as prepping, as far as bee, but for me would be the first thing that I would think of, and the first thing that anyone who is getting into prepping should think of would probably be their bug out bag. I have 3 bags. One of them actually I use specifically for hunting, and it's a cheap $10 backpack from Walmart. It's a cheap camouflage, something I found in the little hunting sporting goods area. But I use that specifically for hunting. I put my gloves, my head cover, anything I need that I might need out in the field to get me through the trip goes in that. It's just a simple, cheap backpack, $10. But as far as my bug out bag, personally, I do have a large Alice pack, and my girlfriend, she has a HT or Highland Tactical Major, and I have a review on that on my channel. But they're fairly. I love my Alice pack. I mean, I'm sure if you tried, you could put a kitchen sink in there. They're huge, they're heavy duty, they're durable. I've had this one for several years, and it's still just as the day I bought it. Aside from the plastic liner or the rubber liner on the inside of the lid, what I call the lid, put the top flat, it flaked off, which is no big deal. And, it's, I don't have a frame for it. And the best part of that is the best part of my Alice pack is I bought it for nearly nothing. I literally paid 25 cents for it on eBay. I won the auction back about 12 years ago.
Doesn't cover the postage. Doesn't cover the postage.
I know, right? It was free shipping, 25 cents free shipping. So I was like, I contacted the seller. I said, so
you're a pretty good shopper. You're a pretty good shopper.
Yeah, I kind of got used to. I kind of learned how to be, win a lot of the cheap stuff on Amazon or on eBay back in the day.
I have a review on that knife that you talked about on one of your videos, and the 2 problems I have with it are it doesn't have a belt clip.
Oh, the Holtzman Gorilla?
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem too. I carry it every day, but like today yesterday I was hunting. I was cutting down some limbs from where I was putting my blind, and I went for my Gerber only because it was right there and I had my gloves on. It was cold as hell yesterday, so that was the reason for that. But it's a good sharp knife, and it comes with a ferro rod. It's just that's the only thing is the belt.
Well, it's not the only. That's the main thing. And so it's like a deep pocket knife because it's not going to be on your belt. And the other thing is I didn't like the polymer grips. I know they cut little slots to make it a little grippy, and it kind of works. But I know you're not going to get my Carter for the price point of that knife. But it's like it's for me, that knife is a a deep pocket or put it in your bag knife because it'll get the job done if you need it. But it wouldn't be an EDC knife for me because I need a belt clip.
Yeah, I mean it's for the price, it's really good. I mean, for a gift, a cheap, hey, here you go, Merry Christmas. I mean, it's a good one. Crack it open, but and for survival. I mean, specifically survival. I would rather have that. Yeah, I'd rather have that than nothing at all. So for a survival knife, a cheap survival knife, it's really good. It's got a sharp as hell blade.
So if you want to see that knife review, you can go to Oklahoma Prepper's channel, the Oklahoma.
Yeah,
Prepper.
I've got a review. I've got a review of that knife. Was given to me by the owner of the company for review, and he said, I'm only going to review it, or I'm only going to send it to you if you do give me an honest review. I said, I'm only going to accept it if I can give an honest review. And I've told him, I told him, in a chat before I posted the video, I said, talk to him privately. I said, these are my only two things: is the belt clip and the ferro rod needs to be on the opposite side so that I can put, the belt clip would fit me personally. And he said, all right, well, I will take that into consideration. And I'll talk to my manufacturer about, get one like that. And, I said, other than that, I mean, I love it. It's sharp as hell.
It's pretty small. I don't know where you can mount a belt clip on it. You can't do it on the pivot point, I don't think. So you'd have to put it on the other. It just looked too small for the grip was pretty small. I don't think there's room almost to mount a belt clip, but I don't know. I'm not a manufacturer. Maybe it's possible.
Right.
Anyway, so we Jared Walsh, his internet went goodbye, so he dropped out because of bad internet. Patrick, how's things in Texas? You haven't said much. If he's still with us. Yeah, good.
Things are just going, plain Jane normal.
Plain Jane normal.
Lost, so that's good.
Any election stuff? Was any weird shit on the election there?
No, just Beto. He was the only weird thing on the ballot. But nothing out of the ordinary. The state Congress will be starting next year and make a whole bunch of other laws and propose laws, and hopefully constitutional carry will come shortly after that, or get introduced next year.
So Texas doesn't have constitutional carry yet. You have to have permits.
Yes, that is correct.
Concealed carry only with a permit.
Yeah.
You can carry
you can open carry a long gun. You can walk around the state with a rifle or a shotgun on your back. You just can't have one in the chamber.
Truck guns are okay. I mean, long guns in the truck are okay. Rifle rack, shotgun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same as carrying. Just can't have one in the chamber.
Well, there's been a lot of talk about one or two of the justices retired, left-leaning justices retiring soon just by old age. I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg's getting up there, and Breyer, I think it was the other one. I hope I'm correct about that. So if we get like a more conservative pro-gun majority, we might get some rulings or at least get some cases heard, because they haven't been hearing cases since the Heller McDonald. So the next B, I think, is that I'll talk about is the Bill of Rights. That begins with a B, and I sure hope the Republic keeps going strong. America's still a pretty good country and worth fighting for, and keeping our republic as strong and as it is. And there's a lot of good things about America, and one of them is the Bill of Rights. There isn't another country like it that has that kind of a list of things that the government can't do. And so all we have to do is try and hold them to it.
Beer, bacon, and freedom. America.
Guns, freedom, and the truth until dawn, right? Yeah. So I was supposed to go get my Benelli Supernova because it begins with a B during your chat, but I was interested in what you had to say, so I didn't like run upstairs and hope my gun's safe. So, okay, Dusty.
Yes, that's me.
All right. When are you going to start brewing beer? Because it begins with a B. This is the Prepper Bees chat.
Okay. As a matter of
fact, you brew beer. Hey, neighbor.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I sterilized all my equipment this weekend, but I had to work today, so I couldn't brew today. And I'll probably have to work tomorrow. But I have all my equipment sterilized, and it's ready to go.
Do you have any plans on what you're gonna brew first?
Probably zombie dust.
Zombie dust. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, look it up. Look it up. That is a good beer. It's made by Three Floyds, and it's made in Munster, Indiana, by Three Floyds Brewing, and I have a clone recipe for it that I know tastes just like what they brew. So,
I think you mentioned something like that once before when you used to talk about brewing more, but then you had to stop for a while, and then
I quit. This will be the first batch I've brewed in over 2 years, and I bought some grain this weekend. I'm ready, and basically I'm going to start with one of my favorites, and my other favorite is Two Hearted Ale from Bell's Brewing in Michigan.
Because how much do you brew when you brew a batch up? How much is it, the product? How much of it is there?
Right now, I'll probably start brewing some 5-gallon batches, but I also have a pot that I can brew 10-gallon batches.
Okay, is it all copper distilling or brewing or pots, copper pots, or
steel?
It's stainless steel.
Okay. Yes.
Is stainless steel better or worse than copper? I mean, I don't know.
It's better, but it's all set for 2 years, so I spent on ties.
Okay, you're a little bit roboting there, but we caught it. We missed a few words.
Real quick, without telling me specifically where you are, how far are you from? What's the nearest metro area that you're close to? The nearest to me would be Lawton, Oklahoma.
Battle Creek, Kalamazoo, close to Squibb in Detroit.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Hang on. Who was from Texas? Was it you or Patrick?
Patrick.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sitting there. What? I know like one of these, but it's not in the state. Okay. But yeah. Okay. I've been wanting to get interested in brewing some beer. So.
All right. Well, I've done it for years, so I'm free, open to questions.
All right. We'll talk about it later.
All right.
I just drink
Beer's
beer.
Good. I do too. But like I said, I'm trying to save money. I'm trying to go through this whole thing of see what it would take for me to live on my own without spending as little as possible. See what it would cost. And I'm actually enjoying a beer right now.
Okay.
So.
Hey, my favorite saying is, "I just like beer."
There you go. Me too.
Yep, there you go.
I like whiskey, but I like beer too.
Well, never mind.
So I was having yesterday I was at the pool having a margarita in my steel pint-sized steel clean canteen mug, or glass or pint. Steel. It's a steel pint, and it's like I fill it up with like a frozen margarita, and then I drank about 2/3 of it, and then I kind of fell asleep like in the pool with my head, and then with this margarita straw in my mouth, so I like spilled 1/3 of the margarita into the pool.
That is like life right there.
It's like, oh, I spilled a little bit on my shirt, but but I have more frozen margarita in the freezer, so
That's shameful. Spill good alcohol. Damn.
And the margarita mix and the ice. I mean, I go to quite a length to because I only make my ice for my margaritas out of distilled water out of my distillation machine. So because I like
hate when
pure
the foam
ice.
spills over.
But yeah, I basically use like the area like there's a wall barrier between the hot tub and the pool, and I kind of use that like barrier as like a concrete pillow to lay my head down. And I fell asleep with the like floating in the pool with my head resting against that little concrete wall barrier and the margarita straw in my mouth. So that's why the thing tipped over. But I drank 2/3 of it, so. There's more tequila where that came from. So
now, really, the true definition: did you fall asleep or did you pass out?
No, I fell asleep. It was a beautiful day. There's a lot of sunshine. Well, yesterday there wasn't as much as there was today, but there was enough sunshine. It was just the very Hawaii sunshine is the panacea for all that ails you. At least it is for me. Next to walking on the beach. In Hawaii, it's just like one of the most relaxing things to do is just nothing in the sunshine.
Well, I haven't seen the sun in over 3 months.
Well, if I ever do visit Michigan, it'll be in the summer because I don't own a pair of long johns, as I was explaining earlier, or like warm socks or anything like that. I'm all tropical. I'm Mr. Tropical gear. So.
This year is probably one of the worst falls that I have ever experienced in Michigan. We have had more rain, more cloudy, more nasty days than I remember in all of my life.
And you've been living in Michigan your whole life?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Is it snowing at your place right now, Dusty?
I hope not.
Because I just came outside. I just clocked out and I'm leaving work. It's snowing.
Nope, it's not yet. But I'm hoping it doesn't snow tonight because I want to work tomorrow. So far this month, I've only logged about 7 hours, and I logged 6 today. So.
Okay, I had something interesting on Bullion. Let's see if I can do another screen share because I found this particular thing interesting.
I got one more thing to add whenever you're done. I forgot.
Okay, well, let me get through this thing. The Coinage Act of 1792. What was interesting about this act is that it includes if you devalue the United States currency, according to the Coinage Act, it's punishable by death. So technically, I think everyone in the Federal Reserve needs to, if they're going to follow this law, should be subject. I mean. Well, I'll read. Let me get to that part in here, and you can read it. You can see for yourself. It's the death, debasing or devaluing the currency is crime punishable by death, according to the Coinage Act of 1792. Let me find that part in here. I forgot what section it's in.
My question is today, if that happened, of course, they're not going to execute you just for devaluing the dollar. But
Why
what would
not?
be,
Okay, go ahead.
you know how it is these days. Oh, it's not humane. But anyways, what would the punishment be these days if somebody was to devalue the dollar?
Well, it should be death, but they do it every day. So we'd be shooting one banker every day. I mean, or
Right.
executing. Here it is. Here it is. I'll read this.
Do we use different money? Because my money's still worth something.
Okay, wait, hang on, Squib, before you start ranting. And be it further enacted that if any of the gold or silver coins which shall be struck or coined at said mint shall be debased or made worse as a proportion of the fine gold or fine silver therein contained, or shall be of less weight or value than the same out to be pursuant to the directions of this act, through the default or with the connivance of any of the officers or persons who shall be employed at the said mint for the purpose of profit or gain, or otherwise shall be with fraudulent intent, and if any of the said officers or persons shall embezzle any of the metals which shall at any time be committed to their charge for the purpose of being coined, or any of the coins which shall be struck or coined at the said mint, every officer or person who shall commit any or either of the said offenses shall be deemed guilty of felony and shall suffer death. This is a coinage act of 1792. So how is the Federal Reserve and the open market banking system not subject to death?
No, because we changed the standard in the U.S. We went off the gold standard. Our money is no longer backed by gold.
Yeah, after it's not backed by anything. And so what? So let's say put Nixon to death, or put FDR to death, but they're already dead. I mean, the Federal Reserve is debasing our currency every day. So at some point, we need to go back and kill all these dead people because
they are back. They are back.
The law was basically voided when we went off the gold standard.
Our money is backed by the promise of freedom and liberty, by the might of our industry, and by the strength of our military. That's what our money is backed with.
You know, Squib, I think that you should have had some kind of inspirational music playing in the background, because saying that made me want to just say America. I mean, the freedom and everything, that our money is backed by. That's what every country should back their currency by, their own country, instead of that's one of the things that JFK was possibly assassinated over, is because he wanted to make sure that our money was not backed by gold, because of that would have put the country in a bind, which eventually did.
All I know is that the person who assassinated JFK, where did he learn how to shoot?
Marine Corps.
In the Marines. Outstanding. Okay.
Allegedly assassinated JFK.
Oh, well, maybe there was a second
Well,
shooter.
I mean, okay, so anybody who thinks Oswald couldn't have made that shot with that rifle, that shot with that rifle was not a problem for him. So, or those 3 shots or whatever, that wouldn't have been a problem. As far as if there were other people in on it, I don't know. But as far as the people who say there's no way he could have hit him, oh yeah, it was not a problem for him.
And real quick,
right now is you compare our currency to the rest of the world's currency, and it's still the strongest currency.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are other countries that counterfeit our money. They're not counterfeiting their own money. They're counterfeiting our money. The thing is, though, I'd rather we have a strong strategic reserve of precious metals, in particular gold and silver, but we could have platinum, palladium, rhodium, or other metals that would be equivalent to the amount of printed and minted money that is known to be in or estimated to be in circulation, as opposed to the front of us.
You said how come other countries don't bother to counterfeit their own money? They don't need to because they can print their own money.
we print our money all day long, HVS. What I'm saying is their money isn't worth as much as ours in the sense that it's not as accepted around the world as our money is. The thing is, though, even though we back our money with the promise of America, and I'm very proud to be an American, I would rather us back it with gold and silver, etc. But why we don't, I don't quite understand.
And I've never been able to spend Bitcoin at McDonald's.
To further back, to add to your answer, Squib, to HVS question, another reason that even the Secret Service, even the government will tell you, the reason our money is most counterfeited than any other money in the country or in the world is because our money is the easiest to counterfeit, and that's why like Canada, for example, has what I call monopoly money. I mean, their money is basically plastic notes because it's so much harder to counterfeit.
We're going to start talking about Canada. We're going to Canada has big problems. I mean, there's a lot of countries. Canada has big problems. The first one is their tar sands. It's gone from like $40 a gallon or a barrel or whatever down to like 14 because it's a pain in the ass, the tar sands, and they're getting like almost nothing for it now. And I don't know, and the whole XL pipeline that was supposed to be for tar sands, right? And it's like nobody wants it anymore. and here's the thing. Go ahead.
If we're talking about Canada, B is for Biker Bob, who's Canadian. A.
Yeah. Hey, where is he?
Canada.
He hadn't been on gun channels for a while.
Yeah, he hasn't. Well, I hope he makes it back. It's always fun talking about. It's always fun talking to Biker Bob. He's been on this show once or twice. I didn't know we had Warcraft in common. We both used to play Warcraft in the past. That online morph game, computer game. But since we were talking about money, I will say this. We talked about tar sands and Canada having problems with, but the problem that the dollar is going to have is when it's not the world reserve currency. And in the 70s, besides Nixon taking the U.S. off the gold standard, Kissinger went to Saudi Arabia, and he negotiated a deal with the Saudis whereby the Saudis would only accept the U.S. dollar in payment for their oil. And it appears now that that's changing because it's a good thing that the U.S. is producing enough oil to sustain itself. We don't really have to import oil from the Middle East, but the problem is the U.S. is no longer the biggest buyer for Saudi Arabian oil, so we don't have that commercial buying the power of being their largest consumer anymore. So they're actually, rumor has it, they're accepting the yuan, which happens to be crashing through the floor right now, but because China has problems. So the petrodollar, because the U.S. has had this petrodollar, that every country on the planet that needs to import oil, which is almost every country on the planet, needs to have the U.S. dollars in their bank to buy the oil that they need. So that's one reason that the dollar has been so strong. But since China is now going to be the Middle East's biggest consumer of oil because they're just demographics of 1.5, 1.75 billion people and giving them all the oil they need, then maybe the China is going to start taking the yuan, and instead of the dollar, and then if they start taking other currencies, and that was the deal that Kissinger set up in the 70s, but things have changed. It's not 1970 anymore. I'll go to a zero hedge. Go ahead.
Is that why China is going after those islands out there? Because are those? Is that area of the ocean? Do they know if there's a? Yeah. Do you know if there's a large oil deposit or natural gas deposit under there? I can understand controlling the sea lane, right?
That's it.
But if they were also going to put offshore oil rigs and they controlled that area, they would have energy independence, right?
China is never, with 1.75 billion people, they're not going to have energy independence. I do wish I had bought CNOOC, their oil company, a long time ago when it was like $16 a share, because it's gone up considerably since then, but I didn't. Anyway,
another point on this. It's like with me. A friend and I had this same conversation today in the combine. You know, I'm almost looking at buying steel. You know, I've always wanted a bulldozer. Maybe it's time I buy a dozer.
You can make a lot of money on a D6.
Cool.
How about that tank? Why don't you buy that tank, the German Leopard tank that has steel in it? Oh. Okay.
B is for bulldozer.
B is for bulldozer. Yeah, man. That's all. That's right. B is for bulldozer. Prepper B's. All right, man.
Dump my.
I think he's cutting out on us.
Dusty, give your internet a break or a chance, and then say it all again.
Okay.
Take two. Dusty, go.
I'm just saying, rather than put money in the bank, maybe you shouldn't buy steel. Buy something you want. Buy a good product.
I agree with you, and that's why I'm. Whenever you said to buy a bulldozer, you can make a lot of money on a D6. I mean, go out there and contract yourself out, and you can make $100 an hour easily with a
hell of
bulldozer.
A lot more than that in Hawaii with a D9. I mean,
right.
Because they have, the government's going to pay some ridiculous amount of money to clear all that lava off the fucking roads. I mean, they'll take FEMA money and spend it just millions of dollars to dig up, but they can't do it. They still have to wait for the lava to cool off. Right. So when it cools off, everybody with a D9 is going to be
blasting, because they're going to have to do a lot of blasting with explosives to break up that.
All right. Well, here I should invest in dynamite.
Yeah. And invest in that D9, Hawaii, and I'll come over and drive it for you.
There you go.
Well, it's not just buying a D9. It's transporting a fucking thing over here on a Jones Act certified ship. I mean, good luck. One of those unicorn ships. Where was that? I'm trying to find that. There's an article about the currency.
Well, I think of it like this. In a grid down situation, civil unrest, SHTF, whatever you want to call it, my bullets are going to be worth more than the Bitcoin or the fiat currency. So that's my barter item. B is for barter in addition to bullets.
Well, the reasons that we have what are called, they used to call shot glasses, is because you used to be able to trade one bullet for a shot of whiskey.
For a shot of whiskey, yeah.
That's why they're called shot glasses. So,
and that goes back to your B is for booze, which is another barter item.
That's why last time I bought an extra bottle of that Sexton. I don't know if Dusty saw that, but it's hard for me to. The Sexton Irish single malt Irish whiskey. You have to go back and watch that because there's not enough light here for me to show it to you. Yeah.
real quick, if y'all don't mind, you know, I think I wanted to talk about it as far as B um, barrel. That's my barrel wood stove, and that thing is a beast. Here, I'm about
You're,
4 foot away from it right now,
are you?
and I cannot.
Are you
You
roboting
there?
or is it just me?
No, he
I don't, it probably is just me. Um, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. Go ahead.
knew better.
Okay. That's my barrel stove. My wood stove. That thing is a beast. I'm sitting about 4 foot away from it right now, and I've even got the fan over here on, and that thing is hot. Uh, and another thing, y'all were talking about, barter. Uh, and back to the stove real quick. It's a 55-gallon drum barrel stove that I bought a barrel stove kit from Orscheln's, which you can get them at Tractor Supply. You can get them at Home Depot, Lowe's for $50, and that's that's your $50 wood stove. And how often do you come across these steel barrels? I mean, oh, even if you can find them on Facebook Market or on Craigslist, you'll be lucky if you can, find one that's, you know, I mean, for
In good
example,
shape.
you can't sell them for anything more than $10 a piece. So, you know, this is on its third year, and I'm going to replace it after this. I should have replaced it before this season, but $10 for 2 years of at least 2 years of use. I mean, that's a heck of a deal. The other thing is firewood. Um, I have an agreement. It's not really I wouldn't say a contract. It's I'm bartering with the city, and among other people. Just people that live here in town. If we get some wood, their tree gets knocked over or something, they call me to go cut it down. I do it for free, and I keep the wood. That's free firewood. So in reality, I'm I'm out like $130 on this stove kit and all the stovepipe. And if you want to get real technical with it, the chainsaw cost me $150, and then the fuel and oil and everything to maintain my chainsaw. That's the only thing I'm completely out. I've made my money back 5 times over in the last 3 years of heating my house. In fact, the day I got my chainsaw, it paid for itself in 3 hours. So, and that paid for itself twice right then, because I was actually hired and paid to cut wood, cut some trees off of someone's property, and I was able to keep the wood. So, I mean, that was like twice being paid. I got to check off that as well as keeping the wood. So, that's another thing that you want to, consider in a SHTF situation, or as a prepper, something like this: a cheap barrel stove, a cheap $150 chainsaw on Amazon, which turns out to be the best chainsaw I ever had in my life. And I've got a review on that too on my channel, Extreme Power US Chainsaw Review, on my channel, The Oklahoma Prepper. And so, I barter my chainsaw services out to people, and a lot of people, like my friends and family, are like, "Why don't you charge people?" Well, I could, but I'm already getting paid for stocking this wood up. They're giving me this wood, so it's payment enough for me to go through the entire winter and not have to spend a dime. Uh, this coming month, by December, my utility bill is going to drop from about $180, which is normal in the summer for running my fan, my air conditioner, to about $60.
Oh, I'm jealous of
just
your
using
utility bill because, I mean, it gets crazy. And Hawaii has the highest electric rates in America. And
my
I've had
sister,
electric bills over $1,000 a month.
my sister's house is total electric, and she pays over $400 a month
Well, I paid
in
over $1,000 a month.
electricity alone. Yeah. So, well, that's a lot of people freak out. They're like, oh man, that's like expensive. But when you think about it, like for example, you just said you pay over $1,000 a month in your electric bill alone. You know, yeah, $400 a month is expensive here. That's you can't rent a house, any size house, no matter how big, how beautiful. You cannot rent that house out to anybody for more than 350 a month where I live. So, it when the cost of electricity, your cost of your utilities is more than a house payment or a rent in this town, people start to throw a fit. But what they don't realize is once you move to a bigger city where your cost of your living is a lot more and your cost of electricity is a lot more. So there's upsides. There's a lot of upsides to that. And like I said, I don't know if you guys saw in that video there, I've got a piece of sheet metal back behind my wood stove against the wall, but it's not flush against the wall. It's separated 2 inches, so I have a void, an air barrier as well as the flame resistant barrier, and I can put my hand up against that wall, and it's maybe 70 degrees up against the wall, and that piece of sheet metal's fairly warm, but just a few things to modify that, and I've got a piece of actually it's the piece of plywood that I cut my window unit out of my wall to make a window for that. Actually, that's my kind of my pass-through device in that window where wood stove goes out, the stovepipe goes out. So I've got nothing in modifying the house to accept my wood stove, because it's just one of them things where you grow up in a small town. It's either you do things on your own and learn how to do it or figure out a way to do it, or you're driving an hour just to get what you need one way, get what you need to fix whatever. So we've learned to adapt and overcome here. But that's something that you need to consider in your preps is heating in the winter. For me at least, because Hawaii, you live in Hawaii.
I don't have that problem.
Yeah.
Up on the volcano, I would have that problem because it's 400 to 500 feet high.
Yeah, a little higher.
Down on the beach,
People
sea level.
charge you in your area to deliver a pickup load of wood.
Oh man, and see that's another thing that people think their wood is made of gold. A truckload delivered is probably $80.
Jeez, I live in the wrong area.
Yeah.
I sell most of mine for $25 or $30.
You're kidding.
No.
Wow.
It's because it's so plentiful. Everybody's got lots of it.
Yeah, I have lots of wood. I mean,
well, I can get it free. You can come across it free, and I get mine free. But a lot of people that I've seen that when I was like just being lazy and being like, "Is this worth it?" And I go on Facebook and everybody's selling a rick of wood for $125 a rick, or a cord for $200. I'm just like, yeah, it's worth it.
When you see it for sale out in front of the grocery stores around here, or you go up to northern Michigan where people have cabins and cottages and that sort of thing, and you see it for sale,
$5 or
somebody's
$6
running
a
up there to
bundle.
buy. Well, when they're running up to the store to buy beer or whatever for the weekend, if they buy a cord of wood, you can tell they've got a wood burning stove or a fireplace or something like that, and they have no idea what they're doing, because everybody else will just cut their own.
Yeah.
You got these pretty boys that go up there with their nice, Lincoln SUV and designer clothes, and they don't know how to cut firewood.
Mm-hmm.
You guys got into this, whether it's profitable or not, once before.
like on my property, okay, I have fence rows all the way around. I need to trim them every year in order to raise my crops. So first few years, I started cutting it and locking up and selling firewood. Then I learned that selling $35 a load truck truckload of wood is not profitable. So it was a lot easier to take the backhoe and push it in a pile and burn it. So now when I cut firewood, I push it in a pile and I burn it all right out in the field.
I really wish I was closer. I would drive up there just to get a truck and trailer load, and I would pay you for it. Yeah, I'd pay you your $25 a truckload for it.
Yeah, that would be great, but you would lose money because you're a long way away. So,
just the thought of me buying it that cheap is enough to satisfy me. I mean, like I said, I mean, you can't. They want it weight in gold. I mean, they really think their wood is worth its weight in gold. $100, $125 a rick, or $200 a cord, or $80 a truckload. It's just absolutely ridiculous.
And if I could make that, it would be worth my time to do it. But on the other hand, if I'm cutting it up to sell it, I only get so far around my farm every year. It's a lot quicker.
Well, think about it. Most of your neighbors can cut their own wood,
Yeah.
I mean, you'd really have to have something set up where you were selling it out in front of the stores where people stop to get their booze when they go. And I don't know out where you're at if there's a lot of cabins and cottages, like when you go up north. When you go up north, there's tons of that. But
yeah, I buy most of my wood when we go up north, and a lot of times I figure I should just buy, burn my dollar bills.
Yeah. Well, the places up there already have locals who bring that stuff up for the store to sell, and these people they live off the tourism industry and whatnot. And there's plenty of people that, even the people that might know how to split logs and could do all that in the back of their cottage, they may just want to go up there and get drunk or get high for the week. They don't want to do any work. I mean, I used to like going up to my cabin and doing work on the weekends and stuff. It was kind of nice, but
I enjoy it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there. It's like you give them a beam splitter and a stump, and you give them some wood and say, "Here, have at it." What do I do? Are you kidding?
I would love to have a splitter. I would love to have a hydraulic splitter.
Dusty has one. Dusty has
one.
Oh
no, I do it by hand. It's good exercise.
Oh, maul.
I did. I used to split logs as a kid too.
I would, and I did the first year, but it was really hard on my back. And with all my back problems, I ended up having to go to Harbor Freight and buy one of them little. It's a splitter. It's a manual splitter, but it's one of them that you kind of like a post driver. You kind of slam it down instead of it being like a maul where you got to slam it over your head.
When you're a kid, the health problem stuff isn't an issue. But yeah, I used to have a sledgehammer and a splitter, and I used to split logs.
And I would love to, like he said, he had a maul, and he would do it for the exercise. It is good exercise. In fact, the first female firefighter actually got into shape and was able to pass the PT. And what she did to train and exercise for that was split wood for a winter. She split wood for a season, and that got her in shape enough to be able to pass the firefighter's exam, the physical exam.
I wish you was closer, Oklahoma. I've built a half a dozen splitters.
Oh, man.
They're very easy to put together.
I'm thinking about buying an old trash one that doesn't work and having, getting a new pump for it.
Yeah. And there's another place we could talk about. I can talk you through all that too.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if we're going to get back to currency stuff or gold or bullion. I like having basically. Well, we'll get to it. It's been getting trashed.
We were talking about whether or not firewood is worth more than some of our paper
Bitcoin.
Money at the end of the world here.
It's
in the end, any fiat currency is just a piece of paper with some guy that's been dead on picture of some guy that's been dead for a couple hundred years and some numbers on it, and so it is literally Tinder. I mean, at best, so why people think it's worth something is brainwashing. So, and there's been a lot of that going around. So
it's government control. I mean, you can't go into a store and buy anything with rocks. I mean, they got to have that piece of paper with a dead guy's picture on it and a couple of numbers. So I mean, it's worthless to somebody like me when I just barter for anything I need. But without it, you can't pay your bills. You can't buy groceries. You can't do a lot of stuff without it.
Well, yeah, but now it's the same thing about the internet. You can't pay your bills without it. You can't buy your groceries without it. You can't pay your credit cards. You can't pay your mortgage. People pay everything on the internet, and we didn't used to have an internet.
Hell, without it, you won't even have internet. You got to pay your internet bill.
Yeah, and if your internet goes down, how are you going to pay your bill? I mean, it's like we grow. The convenience of it, we grow addicted to it. It's just amazing.
I agree. That's a great way to put it. That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah, well, in a grid down situation, everything changes. But I think the most immediate crisis we're going to have is going to be a financial one or a political one. But a financial one would be easier than a political one. But it would be a mess either way. It's just here's another B I was going to talk about, Brexit. The British are revolting, and it looks like Theresa May is going to be facing no confidence vote, and a lot of her cabinet ministers are left because she came back with a really crappy deal from the EU, apparently, and nobody likes it in Britain. And it was really funny. I know it was just Nigel, whatever his name is, but it was funny to hear someone with a British accent complain about the EU deal on what he's on the television, cable news, because what he said was no taxation without representation is the problem. And I was like, he had a British accent and he's saying that. It's like, yeah, it's like a bunch of regulators from Brussels that weren't elected to anything and basically make all the decisions for everybody, and including control of their borders. It's like they were calling it the hotel EU. You can check out anytime, but you can never leave. Because they don't know how to leave the EU. You just get up and leave, but that's a no-deal Brexit, and everybody thinks, okay, the entire British economy is going to die if they do that. So they don't want to do that, but they got to deal. What the deal is, they aren't going to vote for in Parliament, and apparently it'll never pass in Parliament. But I think Theresa May, it's her. She feels that it's her responsibility to bring the best deal she can from the EU for the House of Commons to vote on, and it's not her responsibility to actually have it be a good deal. She just has to bring a deal back so they can vote, and then the people in Parliament, it's their responsibility to decide. And that's not what leaders are supposed to do. I mean, it's like she's really like the Barack Obama of Britain, because she doesn't like Barack Obama. I've said it before. He was president for 8 years, and he still doesn't understand what it means to be the president of the United States. He's fucking clueless. And so is Theresa May. I mean, you don't just go out and get a deal so then Parliament votes on it, because it's your job to get a deal and do all that executive stuff, and it's their job to vote on it, whether it's good or bad, and whatever the consequences is. That's not how the world works. And so everything's going to probably be all screwed up. And I mean, the way things are in Europe, the Italy is a country that is too big to save and too big to fail, and it's failing. The bonds, the banks are insolvent. It's a hell of a lot bigger than Greece. And I mean, Italy leaves the Eurozone. I mean, it'll be sheer chaos, and Brexit is going to crash out without any kind of deal at all. It's going to be just a real mess. And I was reading this one article from the Russian propaganda website, Zero Hedge, but saying that if the U.S. dollar loses world reserve currency status, that would lead to a 30% drop in the dollar. But considering how bad everything else has dropped, I mean, that might just put us back to last year, because all the other currencies have been getting trashed compared to the dollar. It just keeps getting stronger and stronger because the whole world is so screwed up, and buried in
For
debt.
example, that's a good point. And for example, Australia's dollar is what, $1.05 or $1.10 compared to our dollar. I mean, it's very close to our dollar, but everything is so much more expensive in Australia. A $20 pair of jeans here at Walmart in the U.S. is $50 in Australia, and I know I've heard of some people that came to visit and intentionally did not bring any clothes so that they could buy clothes in the U.S. and take back to Australia because it's so much cheaper. I mean, imagine, for what we make here, our dollar, for what we get paid on a daily basis from our jobs, imagine everything being doubled in price, and that's what Australia is going through.
And that's the shopping cart theory. If you're an economics student, that is your shopping cart theory.
Right.
Well, I think everything's in a bubble right now, and including, I mean, there's a debt bubble, a real estate bubble, and it's at some point things that there's going to be some reset of because the debt, they just keep borrowing more and more money and printing more and more money, and we're getting down to zero. We're getting down to banks have to have nothing in reserve. If you give them money, they don't have to keep any of it. I mean, so
where are you getting that we are still borrowing money?
Why don't you go to usdebtclock.org and have a look, see?
We have a debt, but where is Trump? What has he done? He's
spending more and more, and he's spending more and more money, He doesn't want the economy to crash. Yes. He doesn't want the economy to crash on his watch, okay? So that's why I say don't raise the interest rates, because he knows he said we're in a big fat bubble during the campaign, but now that he's president, he just doesn't want it to crash while he's president. I understand that. That's politics.
If I was a billionaire like he is, I wouldn't want the dollar to crash either. And I know, I'm pretty sure, as far as just this few people we have on here, or the five of us on here, I'm pretty sure we all have our political differences, and I think that we can all agree that it pretty much is going to take someone that cares about the dollar to be able to fix this issue, because he's not
the only way
we can all agree.
The only way to fix this issue is to let the system crash. There's no other way. There's no other way.
Okay.
It has to crash.
It should have crashed years ago.
Yeah.
When we threw all the money, we bought cars, we bailed out GM. We should have let the markets reset themselves then. We have dug a hole that we cannot come out of now. There is no way we should have bailed out GM, which, thank you, Obama. We have GM now. GM should have been busted up into a bunch of small companies.
And then, do you know why we bailed out? Do you know why we bailed them out?
I have no idea. Because they were a big company and they were losing money.
No.
Politics.
Nope. The bottom line why we bailed them out, strategic defense. We would have done the same thing with Boeing.
What do we need cars
Okay.
for defense for? I mean, we could import all the
Do you
cars we need.
remember what General Motors built during World War II?
Tanks.
Yeah,
They don't.
we
We don't even use tanks anymore. Jesus.
No, Squib's right. They had the ability to manufacture.
This isn't World War II. This is
you don't get it. There are certain manufacturing powerhouses that have capacity. It's not what they're making, it's capacity. It's the same thing with our energy industry and communications and some other stuff. At a certain point, for national defense, you have to have certain things in place. It's just like our strategic oil reserve and making sure that, everybody's like, oh, they don't mine lead in America anymore. Yes, they do. They just don't smelt it the way they used to. But everybody took that as they stopped mining it. There are certain things that you have to have in order to guarantee national defense, and it's not just a bunch of guys with guns. Now, I'm not saying that there weren't some politics involved. I'm not saying there wasn't some national pride involved and some economics involved. You're talking about a company that hires probably or employs over 100,000 people. I mean, that's a lot of jobs to lose. There's a lot more to it than just going, we shouldn't have done this. If it had been another big industry that would have had some strategic importance, they probably would have bailed them out.
But we are suffering from that right now. And I agree that it's probably a good suffering, but we bailed them out. GM made a response, and they repaid back most of the loan that they borrowed. So they've recovered.
I don't get the whole suffering part.
Well, if you were one of the bondholders, who Obama said, well, all these bondholders are in our way or something. I mean, they were like retired people who had invested in a bond and merely wanted to get the promised interest rate return. You
mean the people that don't want to work for their money? Look, I don't know about any of that.
Retired people with a pension, pensioners.
They have not paid on their pension yet. They paid back the government first. But
the retirees still have pensions. They're not as good as they used to be, but the retirees still have pensions.
But they're not the investment that they was, Squib.
No, when you invest in a company, you take a risk. That's your chance. That's why I don't invest.
Not when you buy a bond.
Or you could lose.
You're talking about investing like stocks. When you buy a corporate bond, see, in China right now, China ordered its banks to buy corporate bonds because their paper is worthless and nobody wants it. And if the banks, if they have obviously a communist government and they can order the banks to buy corporate bonds because all their corporations all their bonds are worthless. And same thing is happening in Italy, except there's no government to mandate. It's just a mess. I mean, when what's really interesting in politics is that now that the Democrats have the House and Maxine Waters is going to be in charge of the House Committee on Financial Services. She wants to investigate Deutsche Bank, but she wants to investigate Deutsche Bank just because Trump has an account there or something like that, or a loan or whatever he has. But there's so many things that she should investigate Deutsche Bank for, like rigging the silver markets that they already admitted to in open court in Europe, but she's just going to go after Trump stuff for Deutsche Bank, and the whole financial system is an illusion. I mean,
but for the past 6 years, our economy has been awesome. Awesome.
It's the economy is the engine, but the whole engine of the car that's running the car is going to get just a bunch of mud dumped on it, and there's nothing that's going to stop it. I mean,
this is why I don't invest my money in all these scams. And all these scams, you keep talking about markets and banks and bonds and blah 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 blah. The dollar bills that I hold are more tangible than any of that bond bullshit. The thing is There are people with money, whether they've been saving up their whole life, whether they inherited it, or whatever it is, who have large chunks of money, who invest, and they want a return on their investment. But when you do an investment of any sort, including Bitcoin, you take a risk of losing. You could gain big, and then you could flip that money and invest again and invest again and invest again, and just getting richer and richer and richer for sitting on your ass. Or you could lose everything in one day. That's a risk you take. I have no pity for that.
Well, here's the thing with, nobody needs your pity, but here's the thing with bullion. If you look at the 30-year chart, there's not that much more downside risk. And because it's like at the bottom, silver's $14 an ounce, that's at the bottom. If you look at the chart, like the 30-year chart for silver, I mean, that's pretty much the bottom. 14 bucks an ounce.
Explain why it's at the bottom.
Because the price is set by paper traders on the COMEX, and they don't trade silver, they trade paper. It's fake, and it's been manipulated ever since 1850, the China British Opium War. I mean, but now it's manipulated on the COMEX. They set the price by computer, and the same thing is happening in crypto, except not on the COMEX. It's high speed traders trading on exchanges in Korea, and that's all they do is high speed trading. You don't. If aliens came down from outer space because they wanted to strip this planet of silver so they could for their circuits on their spaceship, and they showed up at the COMEX to buy silver because millions and millions and billions of ounces are traded there every day, they would be really pissed when they got there to find out that there's actually no silver there. The number is an illusion. It's the number. The spot price of silver is fake news.
Do you remember that old Smith Barney commercial? Do you remember the old guy from Silver Spoons? He'd be like, Smith Barney, we make money the old-fashioned way. We earn it. Okay, and they're an investment company. Okay, I make my money the old-fashioned way. I earn it. I go to a job every day, and I get a paycheck. I don't wait for my paycheck from the government. I don't wait for a paycheck from the pension I'll never get. I don't wait for a paycheck from some investment firm that I'm going to trust to play with my money to make me rich overnight. I go out there, I roll up my sleeves, I get miserable and put up with BS and fight traffic and do everything else, and I don't have any worries. I suppose the biggest worry I would have is what would happen if the economy crashed again, which it'll do eventually, or if something happened to me where I couldn't earn any money. That's why I've got certain kinds of insurance to protect me against disability, death, dismemberment, stuff like that.
Okay, so remember, the insurance companies needed to be bailed out in 2008 too, so.
Okay,
so well, they were still charging me for insurance. I didn't miss a payment. But what I'm saying is, for the people that make a living sitting on their ass, I have no sympathy, I have no pity, because I work every single day for it. Whether I enjoy my job or not, I work every day for it, and I try to do the right thing. If other people can't do that, and they get bummed out, go get a job.
Why? What is your theory on why the commodity markets are so low right now?
Same reason. I mean, you've traded farm commodities. You think the prices aren't manipulated? Yes or no?
Nah, not really. No.
Yeah. You're living in a dream world, I guess.
Gee, I've made my income on dreams. Wow. I like that.
Hey, dreams. Well, you have to have dreams, but sometimes investing in them can be problematical. It's just I think that the debt is the worldwide debt is out of control, and it's eventually gonna come home to roost. And it's like everybody's heading at full speed toward this iceberg, and so the U.S. dollar is worth something until you could go buy stuff with it until you can't go buy stuff with it. And I don't know when that'll be.
And why you look at our markets, and really the major reason that we are not selling stuff is because our dollar is high. the rest of the world cannot afford to buy our products because our dollar has value. It takes more of their dollars to buy our products because our dollar is high in value.
Well, how many people can afford to buy an Apple iPhone without putting it on their credit card and just like saying, I'll worry about how to pay for it later? I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of money for a phone.
First thing is I would never buy an Apple product if I had a choice to buy an Apple product. I totally hate Apple. I am
What's wrong with
against
putting it on your credit card? What is wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with just putting it on your credit card?
Nothing wrong with putting it on your credit card, but I
don't mind paying 30% interest if you lose your job or something and you can't make the payments. I mean,
bankruptcy.
What is the best-selling merchandise in the United States?
Merchandise? I would
probably ammunition.
Ammunition.
No, it's the Apple iPhone. And guess how much taxes Apple pays?
Not much. I mean, they got deductions. Did the thing about the whole?
That's why I would never buy an Apple product. I'm totally against Apple. Their whole operating platform, all the lawyers they hire, is totally anti-U.S.
Right.
And
well, all I can say is I once shorted Apple computer and I lost money, and so I'm never going to get in the way of that freight train again. So if you try and stand in front of it, you're just going to get run over. So it's going to be that way when it goes down. But it's a very heavily traded stock by institutional investors, and it's manipulated too. And when it goes up, I mean, there's no point in standing in the way of it. I mean,
but Dusty, you brought up a point about our dollars worth so much that other countries don't buy our stuff. And I'll agree with that to a certain point. I think a lot of it has more to do with those countries' laws about importing our stuff, because some of our stuff is popular overseas. Talking about the foreigners coming over here with no clothes so they can buy clothes cheap over here. I used to work for a foreign company in America, and yeah, I was driving execs around to go shopping sometimes before they'd get back on their plane and fly back to Europe. So yes, I've actually seen that. And I've been to Europe and seen Levi's jeans that are $30 over here for $90 over there. But that's one of the reasons why I say buy American, is because you're supporting somebody else in this country. Somebody in a textile plant in, I don't know, let's say Oklahoma. Somebody in a textile plant in Oklahoma makes some clothes, and I buy those American-made clothes. Yeah, they're a little pricey, but I buy them. Maybe they'll buy a Chevy that's made here in Michigan. And I know if you start getting into all that business garbage and mathematics, you're going to say, well, you can't support within blah, 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 blah. But I think we are some of our own best customers. I think that the American public can do a lot more to help keep our economy strong so that we don't have to worry about outside sources. And I don't have a problem with other countries coming in here and investing in our country, as long as they're hiring Americans to work and they're paying taxes on American property and they're buying American materials. When, if the building that they're in needs a new roof, it's probably going to be a Firestone roof made here in America or something like that. And when they need to have the parking lot repaved, they're not going to ship somebody from another country and all the equipment over here to they're going to hire some local contractors and stuff. So I don't have a problem with foreign countries investing in our foreign companies investing in our country, as long as they're putting money back into our country. I understand that they ship it back to their homeland and they bring over so many people to work here. Having worked with foreigners, I don't have a problem with that. But if that's what it's going to take to keep our economy chugging along and keep Americans working, then why not?
Right now, our dollar exchange is so high that we are not making that same deal to them. And it's the same thing as commodities. You know, China was our major supplier of grain. And right now, our dollar has been so high, China cannot afford to buy our grain.
Yeah, and the yuan has been crashing through the ground lately. Chinese currency has been going down lately.
Yes,
Squib.
their currency is so bad. Right now, they can buy our grain from Brazil with their currency and not have take as big a hit as buying it from us, which basically they do not get the quality of grain from Brazil as they get from us, but they still get grain to feed their animals and make their living.
Squib made a real quick. Squib made a good point. If we are the largest consumer in the world, and he said something. What was it you said, Squib? We could support.
If somebody at a textile plant in Oklahoma makes some clothes, and maybe they cost a little bit more, but they're American made, and I buy them, maybe that person will buy a Chevy that's made here in Michigan. And that even though some economists might say you can't sustain within the borders of a country, you've got to import, export, and stuff like that. I think we're our best chance of sustaining.
I don't think there are any more textile plants in Oklahoma.
I don't know if there are, but you're right. If we are the largest consumer in the world, the U.S. is the largest consumer in the world, and we are our best customer. How much of the stuff that we get here, if I bought a pocket knife from China, how good would it be? A $4 pocket knife from China would probably break in my pocket.
Not necessarily. I've got a really good Chinese knife that I reviewed. Anyway,
but look at it like this, though. Okay, you've got that $4 Chinese knife, but maybe every now and then you buy that $40 American-made knife. You don't have to have
$300.
Half of my clothes are American-made. Not all my clothes. Okay. And there's some things that are really difficult to find that are American-made. Every now and then you'll find a TV that's assembled in America, or a cell phone that's assembled in America, or even every rare so often a computer part or video game component that is actually assembled in America. It's made with global components, but that's something I don't have a problem with. But it's keeping Americans working and that sort of thing.
But to prove your point, we are our best customers. We are the largest consumer in the world. If we kept our consumer product in the U.S., we aren't the
largest consumer in the world. We spend the most money. I mean, largest in terms of how much money we spend. Yeah, I mean, there's
right.
In these other countries, not everybody has a car. In this country, there are lots of driveways that are so packed full of cars. It's a pain. When you have to get out, you got to play musical cars. Not everybody has houses as big as ours. Not everybody has property as big. Not every country does somebody have property in town and then property out in the country. I mean, there's a lot of things Americans have.
Somebody was coming in really roboty.
Oh, I was just picking on Squib. I was just wondering if 4 was too many.
4 cars aren't too many. 6 cars, or think about it like this: they've got a car, or they've got 2 cars, they've got an SUV, they've got a boat, they got a motorcycle, a snowmobile. I mean, and an RV or a fifth wheel or something like that. And in other countries, people don't have that. And here, it's something. And yeah, sure, a lot of it's bought on credit. That's fine. Whatever. It's still.
But our money.
That's how bubbles are made.
No, that's how you keep the economy rolling.
That's how bubbles are made. That's people keep buying. That's what the real estate bubble was all about. That's why everything crashed in 2008, except we didn't let it. So it's going to be worse when it does. When you can go to a bank and borrow enough money to buy a house for $1 million that somebody just paid $800,000 for 6 months before, I mean, the only reason the value is going up is because the bank is printing more money out of nowhere to lend it to somebody, to lend it to the next guy, and it's just
the housing bubble had to do with
The bank
People
is
borrowing more
not
money.
that why
People,
they're selling it.
the houses went up in value way too fast for the wages, even though the wages were going up. And some parts of the cost of living were going up significantly. Health insurance went through the roof. Fuel costs went through the roof. And then people started losing their jobs. Prior to this, though, the banks were letting people borrow more money than they were capable of paying back, unlike in the past where they were real strict on how much they'd let you borrow. So now you got a bunch of people who have a higher cost of living, who have a house they really shouldn't be in because they really couldn't afford it to begin with, and they're losing their jobs everywhere, and now all these houses are vacant.
And they were counting on the ability to sell them for more than they paid anyway.
Yes, that's only because the value of the houses doubled in 10 years. That's way too fast. You can't do that and expect it to sustain itself. You just can't.
So and now we have to deal with what happened to all those credit defaults, and because the banks moved them off their books.
Not really. They make so much money in interest. They're not worried about it.
They don't make money. They print it.
No.
No, I'm talking about the banks that loan the money. They make so much in interest and everything else. They can deal with all the defaulted loans and bankruptcies and stuff like that.
They couldn't.
If we didn't have credit, you wouldn't have places that manufacture stuff in America being able to stay open. If you can't run 3 shifts 24 hours a day and keep going, you start losing money. If you can't justify the cost of the building, you can't justify the number of employees, stuff like that, you're going to have to close down buildings, you're going to have to fire people. And all that does is start a ripple effect that goes all the way through the economy. So if people can borrow money, use credit cards, whatever, finance, blah, 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 it keeps the economy rolling. The problem comes when people borrow more than what they can make, or they're just plain lazy bums and don't pay their bills.
Actually, the banks made money off of all the defaulted loans.
Yep.
No, they just shuffled the papers off in CDOs and into other banks that they have third-party risk, and that's what it's all a big fat quadrillion-dollar derivative bubble that's going to take down the whole fucking banking system in its entirety, and then everything stops, and then you will be down to barter. And then you will need your bullets and your beans and your and your bandages and everything else that begins with a B, and your booze, because the banks won't exist. The debt is gonna it's gonna disappear, and so will the government with it.
The federal bailout saved all the banks. Do you realize if you was one of the people that couldn't pay your mortgage, the federal government would have issued you a check for $7,500 to move?
Well, they didn't offer us that.
well, banks got people that knew what they were doing, made the banks to pay. I mean, I remember I described to you the double zombie condo and over here where not only did the bank that originated the loan, the treasurer of the board, she was going to walk away from her loan because it was underwater after the housing bubble popped, but before she could actually walk away from it, she died. Yeah. and the bank that originated the loan sold it off to a different bank, and nobody can even find the bank that originated the loan. And so now, 10 years later, 2008 to 2018, the house, the condo that she owned, nobody could find the bank. The bank, if they could find it, or the bank, they don't want to repossess the property because they'd have to pay 10 years of back taxes, 10 years of back condominium association. They'd lose a ton of money, and they loaned out way more money than it was worth, and they can't get anything back if they repossess. So they've disappeared. The owner's dead, and by guerrilla law, the condo association they're renting out this unit because they have a pass key, but they don't even own it. So it's just and sometimes people show up wondering where the owner of this is from the state government, because they want to figure out, how come they're not getting any property taxes for this thing, and the state doesn't want to. They can't. There's the bank's gone. The bank has disappeared. The bank is long gone. The owner is long gone because she's dead, and she was going to walk away from it anyway. So
that's what happened through all that.
That's a double zombie
Bureaucracy.
property. That's a double zombie property.
The houses were auctioned off by the banks for next to nothing. People who still had money were snatching up these houses, multiple houses. They were remodeling these houses. The home improvement stores were making a fortune during this because people were either fixing up their houses because they couldn't afford to move to something bigger or nicer, or they were buying up these houses and remodeling them because a lot of people wrecked them before they left. They were so pissed off they vandalized the house.
They stole all the copper out of them.
Remember that story about a guy that in Nevada that took a tractor and bulldozed the house before the bank?
But when the economy started to come back and people started going back to work, the houses were still cheap. And there were some people that had never had an opportunity to have a house, or never had an opportunity to have a house in a decent neighborhood where they could raise kids, or needed a bigger house because their family was getting bigger or whatever, that were going back to work, and these houses were still available. And some people got in there early, and they got a good deal on a good home in a good neighborhood.
Well, in Vegas, there was you could buy a 5-bedroom house in Las Vegas for $10,000. I mean, it was a piece of shit house, but
now all the houses are occupied. They're building new houses because all the houses, not only did they get bought back, but they're all worth more money than they were before the housing bubble popped.
We're still in a bubble. We are still in a real estate bubble. It's a bubble. It's going to pop again, dude. Wake up.
Real quick,
they're not loaning people. They're not. Somebody who can only afford a $150,000 house is not getting a loan for a $300,000 house.
I wanted to add my 2 cents real quick.
There you go.
I just want to somebody here has 2 cents. Okay, go ahead.
The reason I don't talk about I'm quiet on these subjects, mostly about money and real estate and stuff like that, is really quick. I'm going to ask y'all a question. It's simple yes or no answer. If you could buy a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, 2-car garage, a den on a corner lot for $40,000, would you do it? Yes or no?
Location.
Neighborhood.
Okay, so I got one for sure yes, and the rest of them were location. Okay, so but the deal sounds too good to be true, right? I am older than this house. I'm 31 years old. I'm older than the house. The people built it about 25, 30 years ago.
Oh, you're not in your tiny house right now? I thought you were in your tiny house.
I'm in my tiny house. I'm not talking about this house, but the house that I'm talking about. Okay. It's here where I live. And there's a whole point to what I'm saying is you cannot sell a house in this town for more than $50,000. People will look at you like you're growing a freaking horn out of your head. There's just no. I mean, the cost of living here is so cheap. If you want to work and make good money, you're either going to be in oil field or you're going to be driving at least an hour a day. 30 minutes there and 30 minutes back. But the cost of living here is so cheap. My monthly bills with my house payment, internet, cell phones, utilities, what else? Loan payments, insurance, everything that we own the car, so all we have to do is pay, insurance on it. So
and the state monthly registration tax.
In Oklahoma, it's annually.
Yeah, it's annual.
It's annually in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
which is $25 still. So
they keep raising ours. But go ahead.
And my property tax, my personal property tax is $25 a year. So my monthly bills are what, $630 a month? Our monthly bills are $630 a month for a house payment and everything else you need to live comfortable.
A penny
in this
saved
town.
is a penny earned. You're my hero.
Well, here's the deal. That's why I'm not very familiar with any of this, talk about, you know, uh, the economy falling or anything like that, because when it happens, it doesn't affect us because everything here is not run by a bank or corporation or anything like that. It's run by people, and if people are not going to
Um,
pay X amount of dollars for a house, then they're not going to pay for it.
well, when the banking system collapses, you'll find out what is run by corporations and banks.
No,
Right.
quite. HES. Oklahoma, the reason that $50,000 mark is in your area is because Fannie Mac or what's the other one? Freddie
Mae.
will not loan over 65,000 right now on a house like that. So that's why 50,000 is kind of the tops in your area right now, because that's where Fannie and Freddie are right now.
Right. Well, see, that's another thing. Another main reason is because, this town is, I'm not going to say dying, and I'm damn sure not going to say growing. This town is stable. We're steady, but the convenience store, we have 2 stores and 1 restaurant. The restaurant closes at 2:00 in the afternoon. It's open from 7 to 2. If you want to get groceries, you're either driving 10 miles to get groceries in the next town, and it's kind of worth it. I mean, if you want to drive the extra 20 and do a full 30 miles to go to Walmart, you're paying for the gas, but it would come out the same. But at the same time, everything else is in, that other town 30 miles away. You want to go out to eat at a decent restaurant, McDonald's, even, or, go eat sushi, go eat good barbecue, whatever. That's the only downfall to living here is if you don't, go to the store and get gas. If you have to get up and go to work by 5:00 in the morning, if you're sitting on empty, you're going to call in and tell them you're going to wait a couple hours for the store to open.
You mentioned gas. I got to say something about gas. Well, the gas prices have been going down all over the country. They've been going up in Hawaii. Yeah, shit.
I keep telling you to get off that damn island, but you don't want to. So
I love the beach. Just walking on the beach, Squib, for me is like the most therapeutic thing in my life, and I can't tell you how rejuvenating it is for my spirit. But go ahead, Oklahoma.
Oh, sorry, the pagers went off. But no, I mean, as far as the gas price is dropping, yet everybody I know that works in the oil field is still hard at work. I think we're finally getting off of imported fuel, and we're starting to actually use our own fuel now, our own oil, because like I said earlier, if you're going to go to work, you're either working, in the oil field, or you're working out of town. And 90% of the people that have, decent, great paying jobs in this town work for Halliburton Industries. Anybody else works, a $10 an hour job if they're lucky, yet, they can still afford everything in this town. But Halliburton is not, I haven't heard anything about Halliburton laying off. Everybody that I know works in the oil field is still hard at work. In fact, they're putting a pipeline through here. So I think we're finally starting to tap into our own oil.
What's ironic about that is if USA Energy independence leads to the end of the petrodollar and then the ending of the U.S. dollar being the world reserve currency because of that. It hasn't happened yet, but it would be ironic if that's the way it played out.
Right. And see, what I still don't understand fully is the better that the oil fields are doing, the higher our gas goes. For example, if we're producing a lot of oil, we're paying a lot more at the pump. if we're not producing a lot of oil, if oil field economy is going down, our gas prices go down.
Refineries.
Right. And that's what I come to figure out. If they're producing more oil, then we're going to have to start paying for those oil rigs to be put down, and paying for those people that are out there drilling. So we're having to pay the expenses. So
try and get a permit for a refinery. I think the problem is that nobody wants one in their backyard.
The last refinery built in America was built in the 1970s. All the existing refineries that are still open have only expanded, or they've come up with more efficient ways to do it in the same amount of space. Unfortunately, between the EPA and all the damn politicians, nobody wants to open up new refineries, and it really sucked.
I see that. I do see what you're saying. But
I mean, even if they were able to reopen the ones they closed, that would be helpful.
And see, that's one thing that we've been noticing a lot here. And in fact, I think yesterday we went out of town to grab some lunch from a hunting break or whatever, and we noticed that the gas prices, in the other town are still. What was gas, about $2.40 a gallon? $2.39 a gallon here, and we've noticing it go down. From it's not been nowhere near $3. I mean, it's been close to $3, but I think $2.70 is probably the most expensive I've seen gas here this year. But we're noticing it going down, even down to $2.40 is still good. But I've also been noticing that every one of my friends and family members that I know that works in the oil field is still hard at work. So that only leaves me to assume, and they've not talked about layoffs or anything like that. Halliburton Corporation, I know a lot of people that work there that are not even close to thinking about layoffs or anything like that. So it just makes me wonder that if we are finally either what's going on in our economy, that our gas prices are going down, but our oil field work is still maintaining steady.
We export oil too, so.
Right. Okay. Well, I knew that we did both. We imported and exported it, but it just kind of it didn't make sense to me to where if we are exporting it, then why do we have to import it?
Well, I think part of it is the quality of the oil. I know that some, like Saudi light sweet crude, is easier to refine than some other types of oil. I'm not an expert on it. Maybe Squib would know more about it.
I think it has something to do with getting the sulfur out of it or something.
Okay.
Now, a lot of it, like for my equipment, I want an Oklahoma oil. Oklahoma oil has a higher.
And there's not a lot of that.
Huh?
There's not a lot of that.
Okay, well, but basically, oil from your part of the country has a higher crude base. You get oil from Pennsylvania or that area, which name brands that usually come from that area are Quaker State or Heads Oil. They are more of a paraffin base. And
okay.
Oil from your area is more of an actual crude base, and it makes better engine oil.
Okay. That's one thing. That's another thing that I've always wondered, why people think that whenever they think Oklahoma, they think oil, because I live here and I drive. I've lived in Tulsa. I've lived in Oklahoma City. I've lived in several places across the state. And I just have no idea what people are talking about when they say Oklahoma is oil. Because if you go to Odessa, Texas alone, I'm pretty sure that entire county has more rigs on it than the entire state of Oklahoma. But, I just, and when I talk to a lot of people about, for example, the prices of houses here and the cost of living, first thing everybody says is fracking, earthquakes. 90% of the earthquakes that I've never felt an earthquake here where I live. The only earthquake I ever felt was in Oklahoma, and that's when they started to kind of show up more often, about 7 or 8 years ago. And And 90% of our earthquakes around here originate from around Edmond, Oklahoma. And I don't understand why people are sitting there saying fracking. Well, what fracking? Like, I can go to Odessa and I can be looking straight down the highway, and I can just look right down the highway, and out of my peripheral, I can clearly count 30 or 40 rigs. Here, there is none. The last time I went to Oklahoma City, we were coming back, I counted 3.
Well, when I think of Oklahoma, I don't think of oil. I think of somebody says Oklahoma, I think of Indians or Native Americans.
Tulsa was the oil capital of the world before Houston ever was.
What'd you say?
I said Tulsa was the oil capital of the world before Houston ever was.
Oh yeah, I think Odessa is right now.
No, it's still Houston. They use it for the big, business meetings and everybody.
There used to be an NFL football team called the Houston Oilers, but now it's the Houston Texans, I think. But I don't watch the NFL anymore.
I think the Tulsa basketball team is called the Drillers.
No, Golden Hurricanes. Drillers, the baseball team.
Okay.
From there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's where I was right. I was born there.
But it's just the last place I went to when I was working for my brother-in-law was down to Odessa, and I mean it's the only thing that's changed is Odessa's gotten bigger. Every rig is still out there, hundreds and hundreds in a 360 view, and just a 360 view of where I was at on that highway is just hundreds of rigs.
Okay, before you drop out or anything from the internet, did you hear did you hear what the mayor of Tijuana said about all the immigrant caravans who reached Tijuana?
No, I didn't hear.
He said that they're a horde. They're a horde of immigrants, and he wants them out. He says it's terrible. They're wrecking a city.
Well, he needs to deal with it himself. He's not going to pawn that off on us. I'm Mexican. For those of you that don't know, I'm Mexican. And I have family members that are, obviously I have family members that are Mexican. And, I have my brother-in-laws were at one point illegal. They're legalized, naturalized now. But, here's the deal. Even they will say, build that damn wall. And they're Mexicans. They're Mexicans and Trump supporters. It's funny. But, here's the deal. They are expecting us to bail them out of this situation. Tijuana mayor or whoever is expecting us as a country to bail them out. That's not our damn job. It's their job to protect their own damn city. And if he doesn't want to do that, then that's on him. That has nothing to do with us. That has nothing to do with this country. That has nothing to do with our government. That is all on them.
It's the Mexican national federal government that let the people march all the way up from Honduras to Tijuana, and now they're trashing Tijuana.
It's like I said.
I thought Tijuana was trashed already, but before they got there. But I guess they're trashing it some more.
I have no idea, but no, it's like when we talked about that night, the penalty for crossing into Mexico illegally is 2 years in prison and fines in prison.
In a Mexican prison.
Yes, and they consider it a federal crime. Here, you get noted in the log, you get fingerprinted, you get ID'd or however, pictures taken, all that stuff, and then you're shipped back. And you're banned for like 5 years. So here's what I don't understand is why all these Americans are throwing a fit. Oh, that's unconstitutional. You shouldn't be able to, imprison these guys for coming over here illegally. Well, why? If I went over there illegally, they'd do the same thing. Is that unconstitutional?
We don't have enough prisons. We don't have any place to put them. in a prison, or and they're trying to build just like detention camps or something. And we don't have. There's no room in our prison for. There just isn't.
Right. But you get my point though. It's like, why is it okay for them to do it, but it's not okay for us to do it? And if this
Politics.
is why I think
politics,
right, and this is why I don't agree with, why these guys are doing this, what they're doing, if they're doing this for a reason other than it's a made up scam. But why is it that if that's Mexico's illegal immigration policy, then why is it that these people were not all put in federal prison once they got there and crossed over? They had 2 planes full of Mexican Border Patrol agents, and they just literally stepped aside and let them through. So it goes to tell me that there's either, I mean, there's theories out there. Oh, they don't want the publicity of, arresting all these people that are just trying to leave, Honduras. Well, you know what? Here's the deal. Muammar Gaddafi was overthrown and executed, all because they, the citizens revolted. They started revolution and they won it. Why can't they do it? This country has just gotten to the point to where it's all, no, I want a handout. I don't want to fight for anything. I don't want to work for anything. I want it handed to me. Well,
I mean, Libya, that was France, and that wasn't just like the people rising up. That was a manipulation by European countries of the situation having to, and it had to do with oil, and it's just
right.
Whenever you get
regardless, people revolted and overthrew their
apparently
government.
People in Britain are revolting again.
Well,
or as I like to say it, the British are revolting.
The British are revolting. The British are revolting.
And that's a double entendre. But I mean,
yeah.
it's crazy world. All right. Well, is there anything else we wanted to cover in the bees for prepping? I think I didn't get to Bitcoin, but if we start on that, we'll be here all night.
Bacon.
Bacon. I fell off.
Somebody needs to send me some bacon seeds.
Bacon seeds.
And I just want to say goodbye to everybody. I really need to go to bed.
Okay, I got to tell you before you go, I fell off the no egg yolk wagon. I went to Denny's for breakfast last week, and I instead of making steel cut oats, I got up and went to Denny's, and I had a Grand Slam slugger with 2 buttermilk pancakes and bacon, and which I'm not, and 2 over easy eggs with the egg yolks, and hash browns. And boy, it was so much better than oatmeal, and it was different, and it was great. I'm never gonna do it again. It's been like 2 years since I had anything like that, and it was great.
Treat after that long.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was 2 years.
I think we could all agree.
It was great. I'm not doing it again anytime soon. I'm gonna have oatmeal again tomorrow, but it was good. It's just I can't do that. I can't do it every day for sure. But anyway, on that note, thanks everyone for tuning in and watching the replay. And God bless America, along with the Republic. And what do I always say? Oh yeah, you were born free. Have the courage to live your life that way. We'll see you next week.